Well, hello and welcome back. I'm Claire, this is Purple Poppy, and we are on Sunday afternoon stitchery. So, as I promised you last week, I'm not going to be doing another square on my panel today. I'm going to be working on this. Now, you will have seen this cover undoubtedly. I've had it in many places. It's been on my Instagram, and I believe I've shown it on other videos. So this is my cover, which at the moment is completely loose, and this is my pages in my book because I'm doing a book. And this is the one that you probably also have seen. This is the one that I did for the wildflowers. So I wanted to do my book as if it was a crazy quilt. So I've got this section in the middle that relates to the prompt of the week or the fortnight, and in this case it was wildflowers. So I've just cut up some little tiny oddments of red fabric and stitched them down with a black thread to give a poppy impression. I've done some straight blue stitches on some green stems for cornflowers, and then I've done some purple French knots for lavender on these more limey green stalks. And then my crazy quilt round the outside, I left this corner off of the crazy quilt because this is going to be my pathway. So on the front here I had the brown path in stitches, and then that sort of come in here, and we're going to wander through here. So on the next one the path will be down here somewhere, and I'll keep moving it around as we go through the book. But then in my actual crazy quilting, I used a number of different fabrics. As you can see, I've got this green one here, and I've just got like a fern stitch running through there. It's a slightly lighter green there, and I've just done like a sort of running stitch going round, a little bit like a maze. This new fabric, this was part of that bundle that I showed recently, and I've basically used the same colour thread and just gone over each one of those petals with seed bead, a little bit of lace, and then up the top here we've got this more creamy colour fabric. It's got roses on. I've just done two different coloured pink French knots over the roses with the extra lace, and then finally this greeny florally lace to indicate some kind of moss, or you know, in going into the pathway. So that was that one. But then I realised that I had my 6 pages in here. 1, 2, 3, more than 6 actually. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I've actually got 12 pages in here, so I could easily go through and add the next book in. But I wanted not to have them double-sided. I think it's just too thick and bulky then. So I've done it onto a cotton, just the standard cotton, that I will then sew onto my wadding. So then I wanted to do something on the other side. So whilst this is the more delicate natural wildflowers, on this one here I've just gone for wildflowers. So this was edging off of that old quilt, and I've not even pulled out the white stitch. I've left that deliberately, screwed it up, done some French knots in yellow in the middle like the pollen, and then obviously we've got a doily, a different doily, a different doily, a different doily, a different doily. And then the flower out of some lace. We've got a little Suffolk puff there, and then I had some fabric from about 10 years ago which had watering cans and Wellington boots and ducks and chickens and things on it. So I thought it'd be really fun to look at it, you know, more of the sort of meadow that's on this side, and put in a duck and a boot. I could probably have thought about a lake down there, but I didn't. Now I've tacked this all down with some white thread, so I thought we could sit here now and we can attach these a little bit more interestingly and put some stitches in to maybe add some what am I talking about? Add some you know, embellishment, add some extra interest. So take it off the page, move all this out of the way, and let's have a look and see where I'm going to go with this. I'm going to have to turn it round so that I can look at it and see. Now we're going to need something for the centres of our flowers. French knot is the first thing that springs to mind, but it's a little bit sort of predictable, as is a button. So I don't know if in my sewing bag, if I've got some more sewing bag that's really, really heavy, if I've, because it's got my books in. Oh yeah, I'll talk to you about my books. Hang on a second. Let's see if, no, I was wondering if in here I had some pre-done little Suffolk puffs that I could maybe pull out and use as a couple of inserts, but it doesn't seem so. Right, let's talk books before, as I've picked that up. I find some crafters are book people, others aren't, it depends. So I've got this one that Rachel was talking about, which has got all these lovely flowers in and indications of how to use, you know, the various stitches to create these various flowers. So I'm going to be studying this a little bit, and it's got all stitches in the back, and I'll be doing some work with that throughout my book. I've also got this one, and this is much more akin really into the basic slow stitching and introducing it into journals, because she starts off at the very beginning talking about journals and paper that we usually do, and then she comes on and starts adding on fabric. So yeah, so there's that one. And then I've also got this one, and this is the one that, you know, brought me to this whole crazy quilt idea of how to use, you know, the centre panel for our picture and then bits around the outside. So there's that one, there's that one, and there's that one. If you're interested in any of them, you can obviously stop the video and go and have a little look. They all came from Amazon, not at the same time. I wasn't quite that naughty. They were bought at different times. Right, so no Suffolk puffs. So I think I'm going to start them on this one here because it's the smallest one. And I'm just going to start doing some French knots on there, and I've got this lovely gold thread already on here, so that's perfect. So I'm going to do some French knots on there, and then I will consider working through and what we're going to do. So trust you're all happy, safe and well. Now obviously when you first put a couple in, they don't really show. You do need quite a few. But remember, you can change the sizes. 1, 2, you can do 3 wraps, which is what I did just now. And that gives you quite a delicate, small little knot. Or you can do a bigger one by doing sort of 4 or 5 wraps. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's just going to put some centre to this flower. I love Suffolk puffs. You can use them for so many things. Last week we looked and we used them as mushrooms. There was one comment on that video that you could use them in the right colourway as jellyfish, which I thought was a fantastic idea. You could use them as butterflies, flowers. You can use them for all sorts of things. So universal, a bit like lace. That's one of the reasons that I love them. Actually, that's something we could do, isn't it? Could potentially. Okay, so we've got some centre to that one. I'm going to do the last one here. And then I think what I want to do is I want to do some like feather stitch and maybe some grass in front of my boot. And then I might do a different kind of sort of stitched flower on top as well. In Rachel's video last week, you will have seen, if you watched it, that she did the little circles of fabric to make flowers, and then she just did a French knot in the centre. So yeah, that's something that I might do down in front of that Wellington. So I'm going to cut this off because that's that one done. Turn this around so we've got a little middle in there. So I'm going to work on this bottom corner here now. So I want some nice greens. So mixture of different greens. Let's have a look. Maybe even a sort of sagey green. That one. Yeah, we could have all three of those really, couldn't we? I don't really want that olivey one. Sorry, I'm drinking my coffee before it goes cold. So let's leave that gold in there. Let's thread up another needle. You'll be pleased to know that I received a pack of embroidery needles at Christmas. The reason you'll be pleased to know that is because you won't have to watch me struggling to thread needles anymore, because they have got beautiful big holes in them. So that even I can see to thread them. Although apparently I can't separate my yarn today. So I'm separating this out because I want three. You know, that's where I'm happiest thread wise. I like, oh goodness me, I like to have, I've got a knot in it now, look. Oh my days, oh my days. Right, concentrate, Claire. Right, yeah, so when you've got these 6-stranded embroidery threads, I always like to split mine down into 3. I'm a bit tight and I like to get double for my money. B, I've got a real knot in this now. That's the sort of thickness that as a rule I am happy to work with. This has really gone haywire now. We're getting there, slowly but surely we're getting there. I do find this sometimes they separate really easily, other times they're a bit of a problem, and I've come to realise that it depends on how you separate the strands. If you get sort of 2 from the front and 1 from the back, as it were, then it's quite difficult to separate them. If you manage to get 3 next door to each other, then it's quite easy. So something to be mindful of when you're separating up your wool or yarn or thread, whatever you choose to call it. Look at that, you see, straight in, boom boom boom, job done. Look at that, no more messing around threading needles. Okay, so I'm going to start this dark green and I'm going to start right in the corner here, And I'm just gonna go sort of on the angle and just do some standard long grass. Okay, I'll cross over and whoops, we don't want it through the boot, it's got to be below the boot, Claire. And I'm just threading through straight long strands because this is representing my grass that is in front of the boat. You've got to think about, you know, the layers and your perspective and how you would be viewing things. And obviously if you put your foot down in long grass, then some of the grass is going to be in front of the boat. So I haven't really got much to share with you. I'm thoroughly enjoying doing this, so much so that I've actually joined the other sewing collaboration or challenge, whatever you want to call it, that's going on over at Vintage Blend Studio. And the lady over there, I believe her name's Susan, I apologise if it's not, she's doing vintage sewing techniques. So we've got all these lines and I'm just going to finish this off like so. Pull that through, okay? Got long threads, we'll deal with them towards the end, that's not a problem. Okay, so we've got some grass going on there covering the boat. We're going to do another colour just because we can, and you'll be pleased to know this one's already been separated. This is a 3, so poke that through, and now I'm going to come from this end and I'm going to do these ones all on the angle. This is basically what Rachel was doing in her video in the week, so you may have already seen this type of thing going on. She laid this down as an idea, and I think, yeah, with my wild flowers rather than my wild flowers, it works quite nicely. So also it is obviously extra holding down this boot. Put a random really long one in there, and then perhaps another on the angle. So we got all these sort of different coloured grasses going on here. Oops, and I've pulled my needle off. But I do really want another couple in this colour, so I'm just going to sew them in as well. Oops. See, I'm telling you how easy it is to thread these needles, and then I've gone and messed it up. I don't know what's happened there. I think I've only got 2 of the strands. I think that's what the problem was. Yeah, because one of them, look, is really much longer. You can't have that. Let's trim that off. Right, let's try this again. So not really teaching anything. I'm just sharing with you my stitching time. I wouldn't begin to consider to try and teach you anything about sewing, to be honest. I mean, yes, we're doing that little panel, but it is very, very basic. Okay, so I'm now gonna come back and put the third green in there. I don't want to cover up that boot completely, because that would be silly, wouldn't it? So let's get rid of these threads, because these are starting to annoy me, in case you hadn't noticed. Right, that's it. Okay, so that's what we've got at the moment. And this is the one that we haven't yet used. So I'll do some of this as well. I don't want to do it so thick that you lose sight of the boot, but I want to do it enough to make, you know, a point, as it were. So that's our grass going in down there. And then I might have a look at doing some of those little flowers. Sorry, I've probably gone off screen there for ages, haven't I? Some of those little flowers that Rachel was doing, because that's basically what I did actually when I did my poppies, but instead of putting the circle down, I actually sort of folded it over, because poppies always tend to be crinkled up. So that's what I did with that. And I've shown you my books. Oh, I suppose the other thing I should show you is my sexy haul of a kit of bits and pieces that I bought. I did put a picture on Instagram, but I will show you what I managed to get. Because of course the thing with this is, what you really want, it's a bit like the way I eat, really. My most favourite meal, if you can call it a meal, is a buffet, because I love a little tiny bit of lots of different things. I never want a big plate full of food. It actually puts me off eating. I just want lots of little bits. Because to me that's interesting. And I remember years ago there was a diet, one of these fad diets on the market, that you could eat anything you like as long as you only ate a forkful of it. Well, to be honest with you, that's sort of how I eat anyway. I get bored very quickly. A plate full of food is not something I want. I want a tiny little bit of lots of different things to keep it interesting. Okay, last one of these green grass strands, and then I'm going to put some flowers down there. Look at these strands at the back. It's the only thing, when you do long strands like that, it's quite a lot of thread that's not being seen, that feels like a bit of a waste. Okay, so we've got our little centre to that flower, and we have got our grass over our Wellington boots. Oh dear, sorry, dragging my chair around. So I've got 2 bags of goodies here. For those of you that are in the UK, this one here with that green fabric that you saw, this one actually came from eBay from a fantastic lady called, Purple Cat. There you go. I knew I'd remember it. Purple Cat. There was a little bit of thread. This lovely sort of cherry adornment, which I'm going to try and get somehow in this book. And a little bag of buttons and charms and all sorts of things like that. Okay. There was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 pieces of trim. There was a lovely red feather, and of course if you put that behind that like that, look at that, that just looks absolutely beautiful. So there was all that, and then there was this beautiful gold piece of lace. Now that's quite a big piece for what we're doing. So there was that piece of lace, and then there was, and all these pieces are about that size. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. This was called pink, green and gold. 11 pieces of fabric there as well. And that, as I say, came from Purple Cat on eBay. And that cost £6.50 plus postage. So that's an awesome haul, isn't it? That's that one. And then this smaller one, smaller and dearer, but in all fairness, this is vintage, so that's why. Vintage and hand dyed. And this, okay, so we've got 1, 2, 3 trims, and then you've got this one, and this little HE, and then this, and this one, this one, and this is pink and grey, this one, beautiful, and then we're still going. It's another one of those, and another one of them. The other one was HE and this one's CR. Another one of those, lace, bit of a doily, another bit of a doily, an odd little trim there, and that one, and that one, that one. It's like tulle, that one, and then we have got 1, 2, that's silk, 3 pieces of fabric. And that one came from a lady called Button Wood on Instagram, and that one was, I believe, £11. Okay, so that is going to keep me going throughout this entire book and beyond. There is much more than I need for this book. And then the other thing that I splurged on was these. And these are the Sweet Treat threads, and there's also a black one that I've been using, and I've got to be honest and say it's the best thread. I don't think I'll ever buy anything else. I love it. So if you haven't heard of it, it's Sheepy's Sweet Treats. This is the maxi ball. Now it says it's 25 grams, and if I fire up my computer I can tell you where it came from. So just 1 second. I'll fire up my computer and I will tell you where it came from. It came from there. It comes from a company called Wool mouse. Okay, so it's WOOLMOUSE, and they are in the UK. And each one of these balls was £1.50. And they have got, well, I don't know, more colours than you can, you know, throw a cat at. Not that you want to go throwing cats, because that's a bit nasty. But I just got the colours that I wanted to go with, obviously, what I'm doing. So there you go. There's some shares for you. Now, what was I doing before I went off on a tangent? Oh, centres, yeah. Flowers. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to throw it back into this bag, and I'm going to use that one and that one and that one, and I'm going to do not the fabric circles that Rachel did. Sorry, that was probably very rustly. Not the fabric circles, but I am going to do some like French knots. So, and of course each one's got its colour on and everything, and I was really super excited with these. I thought they were wonderful. The only thing I'm struggling with, and it's nothing to do with this, it's them, it's me, is finding the end. I can never quite find the end, but there it is. Okay, so this lovely champagne type colour, and we get another needle because we can, because we've got loads now. Whoops. And I use all of this. I don't, that's not the needle I want. I don't separate this at all. I use all of it. Very indulgent, very naughty. I just love it. And now it's going to mess me around and make it look like these needles are not as lovely as I said they were. There you go. Okay, so I've got a nice long strand. I'm going to tie a knot in the end, and I'm going to run through again, and I'm just going to randomly put the French knots in as little tiny flower heads. It's all about the French knot today, isn't it? We did them as centres, we're doing them as little flowers. I'm just going to pop them in between the grass, just so they're little sort of heads dancing. So there you go. If you're not doing this challenge and you feel like you're not able to do the slow stitching, a couple of my Facebook ladies have said, oh no, I can't do that, that's not you know, for me, it's not, I'm not any good at that. Rubbish. Look, straight stitches and then a French knot, and you have got yourself a flower garden. Simple. I might actually even, when I've got a free night this week, I might sit and do a flower garden in, see, now I've got a knot in it. Generally you get a knot because the thread is too long and it wraps all around itself. But I can't, and you can normally just pull it out. But that's obviously not going to happen, is it, today? No, it's not going to happen. Of course it's not, because we're on camera. So, what we're going to do is we are going to cut where the knot is, like so. We're gonna unknot this like so. See, and now we've got 2 threads, and that is part of the problem. Right, so this one, I'll cut the knot off. Normally, if I was sitting here stitching on my own, I would just have persevered and pulled the knot out. But you guys do not want to see me spending ages sorting out a knot. So rather than bore you with it, we'll just cut it out. We've pulled a green thread through from the other side there. Okay. So yeah, what I was saying was you can easily just do some strands, do some French knots, and you got yourself a flower garden. So I might actually do that. As I say, got a spare night this week. I will sit down and just do a little flower garden in one of the squares on our panel. Okay, 1, 2, 2, 3. And maybe one up here. Remember, the only thing you need to do is obviously don't put one up here because it doesn't make any sense. They need to be nestled with the grass strands, because that's how it makes, you know, logical sense. Right, so we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of this like pale champagne violet type colour. Violet champagne, there you go. So there's 5 of those. So then I'm just gonna pull that through there and call that done. And then I'm going to find this like raspberry red, and I'm gonna, oh look at that, I found the end that time straight away. That was good, wasn't it? And it just feels beautiful in your hand. I love this thread. Now admittedly, I'm new to this game. I am no thread expert, but it feels beautiful and I love it. And to me, the 150 is very, very cheap. When I bought these ones at my local sewing shop, they are much smaller, as you can see. I think they're only about 10 grams or something. And they were about £2.50. So I feel those big balls are very good price. Right, okay, so now we're going to put some of these like crimson-y colour in. I keep changing my mind, don't I, what I'm calling it, burgundy, crimson, whatever. This darker one. So I've shared quite a lot with you today, no teaching, but I've shared you my books, and I've shared with you the fabric finds and this thread find. So hopefully you've gained something from the video, and it's been worth your while being here with me today. And one down there, I think. So that gives us 5 of those. And then I will do 5 of the more purpley one. Just because it adds in, you know, the different colours. So it doesn't take long at all, really, once you get stitching. It's nice and calming. And if you haven't got one of these boxes and you don't want to be spending money to invest in one, which is totally understandable, can I recommend a peg or two? You get yourself like a washing line peg. I bet I can't find it as easy this time. Oh yes I can. Wow. If you get yourself, I'm just making sure it's not the same one. I think that's, yeah, no it's not. It's very similar, you see. If you get yourself some washing line pegs, you can definitely wrap all these extra bits that you've pulled off but not used, can wrap them around a peg, job done. So that would hold your threads nicely for you. And then you could just get a little cardboard box or whatever and have a box of pegs wrapped in thread. Or if you've got space and you've got, you know, a craft room, you could string yourself up a mini little washing line, because wooden pegs, I obviously haven't got one to hand, but wooden pegs have like a metal hole in the middle where they're sprung. The spring has got a hole in the middle, so you could actually string some string through those spring holes, and you could have a washing line of thread hanging off your shelf. There you go. So that's definitely a way that you could store your cut off but unused threads. There we go. Right. Now I've kept you for a good 40 minutes, I think. So I'm probably going to let you go there. Spend the rest of your Sunday afternoon with your family. Do you know, I'm not convinced that I didn't use the same thread twice. No, I didn't. Look. They are different. Very close, but different. Look. So there you go. We've done the grass over the Wellington, and we've done the little flowers in the grass, and we've put a centre in there. I'm going to carry on without you and put some more centres in. I'll dig out some buttons and things, and I might even do a blanket stitch around this duck. So, as always, thank you so much for joining me. Stay safe. I'll be back with you very soon. Ta-ta for now.